It pays to advertise, or so they say. For years, marketers really have had no idea whether that saying is true, which is really frustrating to me as a marketing professor. One of the hallmarks of business is thinking about investments and the return that we get from them. And advertising should be thought of like any other investment. We spend money on advertising in the hopes that we will get returns in the form of customers who will come and buy our products and services. But why don't we know whether advertising works? Well, the big problem for a long time was that we really didn't know which customers saw ads, so when a customer came in and bought something, we had no way to track back what advertising they had seen before they made that purchase. So if you were an advertiser, you'd buy a bunch of different advertisements and you'd hope to sell some stuff, but you'd have no idea which ads were driving the sales or whether the ads were driving sales at all. Maybe all these customers would have come without the advertising. It was like having a portfolio of stocks and getting a dividend check at the end of the year, but having no idea which stocks had produced the gains. Creating an advertising plan was more or less a guessing game. And this made marketing one of the soft areas of business where the focus was on persuading clients to buy ads through drama rather than through data. There's been a lot of hype about the targeting that you can do with digital marketing platforms. For example, when you buy ads on a social media platform like Facebook, you can send the ad to people based on their location, their stated interests, even what they say in their posts. But I don't think this targeting is the most important part of digital advertising. The really revolutionary thing that is happening in advertising is the data that's being collected. Today, if you're an advertiser and you buy a digital ad, you nearly always get detailed data back on exactly how many people saw that ad. And with a little bit of work, you can track those users to see which ones made a purchase. This is what's really revolutionizing marketing today, the access to this kind of detailed data. Students in my data-driven digital marketing class at LeBeau learn about new digital marketing platforms, but with a focus on the data that you can get from those platforms. And students are really surprised when I tell them that an idea that they learned in finance class, return on investment, can be applied to advertising. Today, you really can look at the data you get from digital advertising platforms and say, I bought a paid search ad on Google, 100 people saw it, 10 of those people bought something, and I netted $150 from the deal. And this way of thinking about advertising is really revolutionary in marketing. I'm excited that LeBeau students are building the skills they need to think about advertising in this new way. It's also exciting for me to see them take these skills to co-op and full-time jobs where they're actually taking responsibility for deciding where to invest advertising dollars. It turns out that we can borrow a great idea from our friends in medicine to answer this question. For years, medical researchers have asked a very similar question: what would happen to the patient if I didn't give this drug? They came up with an idea that they call a randomized controlled trial. They take a group of patients and split them up so that half of the patients get the drug and half of them get a placebo. Then they carefully watch to see what happens to each group. If the group who got the medicine does better, then we can definitively say that the medicine works. We can take this same idea and use it to figure out if a particular type of advertising works. I'm working on a paper right now where we got data from a local retailer. The retailer had done just this type of experiment. Every month when they send out a catalog, they actually randomly choose 5% of their customers to hold out from the advertising. So those 5% of customers didn't get the catalog. By comparing those two groups, the people who got the catalog to the people who didn't get the catalog, we can put an exact dollar value on how much revenue is increased by sending those catalogs. Helping companies apply the experimental method to marketing problems is an active area of research for me. The coolest part of it is that almost anyone can do these types of experiments to find out if their advertising works. It doesn't take a PhD in marketing. I once ran an advertising experiment for my hotel room with nothing but an iPhone and a Google AdWords account. And in my undergraduate class, students work with local businesses and nonprofits to conduct experiments on marketing to find out what types of ads work better for a particular advertiser. And in my graduate course, which is called Marketing Experiments, we spend an entire term learning how to create these types of experiments. It's the only course of its kind in the world, and it's right here at Drexel. So, you are watching this video to find out, does advertising work? And I'm sorry to say that we don't yet know the answer to that question. And actually, that really isn't the right question. That's sort of like saying, does medicine work? Some medicine works and some doesn't. Some advertising works and some doesn't. But the fact that we're now applying the tools of science, experimentation, and measurement to advertising problems makes me very confident that in the next few years we will know which types of advertising work and which don't.